5 שניות. We are live. Niro, what's up? How are
Hey,
you?
how are you?
I'm good, and you?
It's been such a long time.
Yeah, I think it was 5 years since our last live, 5 years,
Yeah, since our
something like
last
that.
time. Yeah.
But it was fun. Yeah, remember, always you bring the value and you bring a good atmosphere and good vibes, which is great. Yes, so thank you very much for coming today. What we're going to speak with you about today is about cold email outreach, which I know that many people always ask questions about it, and everyone is like, how to do that? How can I get leads like this? Some people, every few months, even some people saying like, this is dead, no emails, no Outlook, you cannot get into the main inbox, and I think it's very, very important. Find it like source of traffic to get leads. So yes, if you can introduce yourself for a few minutes for people who don't know you, that would be great. And we'll go from there.
Sure. So, my name is Nero, and my background is actually, IT and tech. I specialized in computer networks and actually worked for a few years in an internet service provider company dealing with the mail servers. And the reason why it's relevant to mention is because when I had my first business, when I wanted to, I had a SaaS, and I wanted to, like everyone, right? You want to blitz the market and like get loads of clients and subscribers at the time. And I faced probably what everyone else is facing in terms of the challenges where I would either hire freelancers that just didn't really get it going. I tried a company that was managing Facebook ads that didn't work as well. And I also hired like a content social media content manager. So, I gave it like three really big tries. I spent a lot of money on it, and eventually I was feeling like, everyone is just going to promise me the stars and the moon because they want them. I respect the hustle, I do, but it's like I was like, okay, but how am I actually going to get this done? And I even went and got like a quote from a real fancy marketing company in central London that wanted £24,000. And I was like, all right. And nothing in that quote seemed like, sometimes you get a quote and you think, oh, that's going to be amazing. Anyway, why am I telling you this? At that point, I decided that I'm going to roll my sleeves and try and do it on my own. And it didn't work right at the beginning. But I met this guy called Eric. I'll never forget
Niro,
it.
one second.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
can you hear me now, maybe? One
Yeah. You were
sec.
on mute for a second.
Now?
Are we good? Yeah, I can hear you that whole time. I could hear you.
Niro?
Yeah. Can you not hear me?
No? One second. Try to.
1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know if people can hear me in the. Uh, I don't know if people can hear me. If anyone can comment, if they can hear me. I hope I wasn't talking to
Well,
myself. All right. So, welcome to the Nero Show. Adi has logged off. Right. So, I'm just going to keep talking until she's back. For those of you who are watching this. So eventually I spoke to this guy and he said, why don't you try cold reach? And she's back, I think.
no, something
No,
is wrong. No, I don't
but
want to fix it.
but
Continue.
we
I will join. I will try
yeah,
to fix
okay,
it
no problem.
in a few
So
seconds.
basically I decided to start learning how to cold reach. And at first it wasn't easy at all. But I quickly identified, I think, what others didn't, because of my technological background. I think that's kind of what gave me the advantage over there. And then what happened was that I I started getting really really good results, and then I kind of combined all the what I like to call the pillars of cold reach. So I'm not sure what's happening. This is really distracting, to be honest. Is everything okay? Not sure. Okay.
We'll open a new one maybe.
You want to do it again?
What do you think? I cannot fix it with this one.
Okay, sure. We can do it again. Let's do it again. Because it's recorded, right? So you want it. Yeah.
Okay, now it's fixed. Sorry.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Great. So shall I start over, or are we on the same recording?
The same recording. All good.
Awesome. Awesome. So like I was saying, I then started getting a lot of success with it because I had a little bit of an advantage, I think, on the traditional learning curve. If you take someone that's just trying to learn this whole thing from scratch, it might take them a little bit longer if they don't have the technological background. Where I already had a little bit experience with data scraping, and I had experience with email transactions. So how email servers actually work, and everything that has to do with it in terms of if the emails are going to be filtered, if they're going to be categorized as spam, and so on, with all the technological challenges that arises in this day and age, right? When it's much harder, I guess. I see a lot of situations, even in the years that I worked in IT, where someone was sending an email that was nothing wrong with it, and just people's domains sometimes are going into the spam for various reasons, right? So I decided to focus, like I said earlier, on all of these pillars, which is the first one was the idea, which I'm going to talk about in a sec. Then it was the actual data, so where to get data from. Then it was deliverability, which is the whole infrastructure, how to actually have an infrastructure that goes into the inbox, because otherwise the whole campaign there's no point running it. And then lastly, I had to start to get a little bit into the wonderful world of copywriting, which I quickly learned that it wasn't what I thought at all. So now I'll take you back, and I'll kind of start from the first thing that I mentioned, which is the idea. You actually have to have a really good idea. Sometimes it's the most obvious one, so it doesn't mean that you have to be, go out of the box. It's great if you can, but I'll give you an example. If you want to market a revolutionary toothbrush to dentists, then, or like a tool, then it sometimes will just be the obvious, which is, all right, the data that I need, the idea here, forget about the data for a second. The idea is we need to approach dentists, where you could have, like out of the box thinking, where you can say, right, I'm a wedding photographer. How do I find people that are going to get married? So most people...
Oh, I'm stopping you for a second. I want you to focus on the audience that most of them watching. It's let's say I have a social media agency. So what do you recommend about them?
Sure. I'll just, this is just a good example. So I'll finish this one and then I'll focus on that. So like with the wedding photographer, a lot of people might think, oh, I need to find people who are about to get married, but that's really difficult on social media. Instead, you can look for wedding planners. That can be your target audience. That's a great idea for social media marketing. Again, depending on your niche. So for example, if you want to do, let's say that you have a service that grows Instagram accounts. So you can come up with several ideas and try them. You can try with models, you can try with dancers, you can try with comedians and so on. But then you can start to think out of the box and say, right, A good idea, for example, will be people who want to be presenters or models or actors. And the angle could be, the idea is that you don't just contact them and offer them the service. You contact them and you tell them, did you know that today to get casted in a movie, it is easier if you have a lot of followers, which is true. A lot of people, they choose the actors. They actually want to choose. So you give a little bit more leverage on why they need your service. And that has to do with copywriting, and we'll get to that in a sec. But still, everything stems and starts from the idea. Now, once you have your idea, for example, we'll say, I don't know, social media managers. Let's say that a marketing agency, you want to look for SaaS. Let's say, for example, you want a SaaS business to, you want to work with SaaS companies, for example. So you can think of a niche of SaaSes and then say, right, I'm going to scrape it. So I don't know, like AI services, social media, all that sort of stuff, right? That's the idea. And then you say, right, let's get the data. So the wonderful world of data scraping, we all know it's like a wild west out there. And what I recommend is to actually get your own data, meaning either use tools that empower you. So not platforms and resources, but tools. So the difference is, for example, if anyone's watching not understanding this, don't go to I don't want to say names, but don't go to all of those places where you can just search and download the CSV and buy credits, but go to a tool where you actually have to do a little bit of work, not because I want you to do work, because you need something that goes and extracts the data for you in real time. Because what you don't want to do is take data that's old. And most of these companies that have millions and billions of contacts, they don't go and get it for you straight away. And that's something very important to understand. So it might be overwhelming and it might be, but I don't know. But there are resources for that. And in the end of this video, I'll give you guys some links and stuff like that. So it's very, very important to get fresh data. It's also very, very important to then validate it. So because when you're doing cold reach, obviously the key point that's interesting to you in the data is the emails, right? So you're getting a CSV, whatever, names, address, the email is important. So, and also there are good vendors as well. There are like, freelancers, private people who know how to scrape data. You need a good idea as well. Where am I getting the data from? If it's dentist, you want to go to Google Maps. If it's SaaS, you might want to scrape social media pages, because a lot of SaaSes always have a little Instagram account with their email on it. Or you might want to do a Google scrape for websites, if you know how to do that. Or you might want to go to a professional, for example. And then what is recommended to do is usually get a small sample before you go crazy and test it and see, I got 12 emails here. Let's see how many of them are valid. 20, something like that, and then do some email validation. Again, there are a lot of tools out there to do that, but you need to do that. And the tools will usually give you like valid, risky, or catch all, they call it, or invalid. So I would recommend, again, don't get tempted and only use the valid ones, even if it means you are losing 70% of your data. It just means, okay, just increase the funnel, just get more data to start with. Because what you don't want to do, which brings me to the next pillar, is you don't want to damage your infrastructure. So just to give you an idea, to those of you who are listening, without getting too technical, to this day and age, if you send 1,000 emails and one of them gets reported as spam in recipients that sit in Google, for example, you get into the Google blacklist for about 4 or 5 days. This is how bad it is, right? And it's very, very important that you leverage everything in your favor, so people will not do that. I'm not talking about an email that went to the spam automatically. I'm talking about spam report, where someone actually reported the email as, flagged it as spam. So it's a different thing. It's okay if you send 1,000 emails and let's say, I don't know, let's say 8% of them went, 80 emails went into the spam. That's fine. That's just systems categorized it as spam. And actually as long as people don't report you in time, the systems will learn that you're not harmful, and you'll start to even get better results. So, which brings me to the next kind of pillar of this is the infrastructure. There's a lot of things that you need to take into account, starting from your domain name, the domain you're emailing from, going all the way to where are your mailboxes sending from. So when you have a domain, you usually will choose an email provider, Google Workspace, Office 365, GoDaddy, Amazon, AOL, whatnot. You have to make sure that you choose a provider that either has a reputation that will work, or in some cases, in some campaigns that I've done, build your own server and build a reputation. It depends on your objectives. It depends on what the scale of the operation. And sometimes it also depends on cost. So, for example, I had a campaign that I've done for someone with 120 mailboxes. That was really, really difficult to manage. And once we moved to our own server, there's pros and cons. So far, any questions, or I don't know?
Let's see. Ayush is here. Ayush, great to see you. No, not question. I don't see any questions for now. Maybe you can also like share the screen to show some of the some of the how, for example, you validate the emails, or where you get the data. And I think that we can focus today, if that's okay, like on social, like people who use tools like Jarvee or Grow, or all of the tools to grow social media accounts. And I feel like many of them, because also many people are like, we are promoting something which is a bit on the gray side. So, you cannot even do paid ads on most of the case. So the cold email outreach, it's like a great method to get more and more leads without doing anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can also share that actually that was the business that I had. I had a SaaS that was a Instagram growth company. That's how we met. I had a company called SocialWorks, and honestly, I grew it to an insane size, and everything was done with cold reach. Back in the day, it was there was also less competition. So let me try and share my screen here.
Yeah, sure. Go for that.
Show you a campaign. I actually have just one campaign that I'm running for someone now, just because I'm a little bit busy doing other things these days. But it's not. It's kind of similar. I think the audience is the same actually. So it's not selling a social media service, but the audience is the same. So I'll show you. Present, share screen. There you go. Okay, I'm going to share my entire screen, which keeps it simple.
Yeah.
Let me know when we're on. We're on, yeah?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So this is a company that is a modeling agency. And they actually have a new service where models, people who perhaps might not be the most successful models or famous, can still pay a very small subscription. We're talking here about, I think, $5-10 a month, but then they get into their books. That means when there is a casting, they get an opportunity, right? So this is a subscription-based model, which is very similar to people who are selling a Jarvee service, for example. And this actually, in this case, the idea was, let's find models, or at least models that are aspiring and trying to become famous on Instagram, because Instagram is a huge database actually of businesses and individuals who would like to be recognized in some sort of way, right? So what we've done here, the idea was to get lists of models. As you can see, I've scraped a few different resources, but most of them were from Instagram. And if you have a look for a second at the actual deliverability, which is something we talked about earlier, the bounce rate has to be lower than 0.5% on average. So if you have one channel that is over, but another one that's lower, that's fine. As long, and especially when we're dealing in low numbers, it's not the end of the world, right? But as you grow, you want to keep this on these kind of numbers. So it's individual emails, not a lot. So bounce is very important. Now, The response rate, usually that what I would expect to be a good campaign would be about 8%. This was a very, very good campaign, actually. Not all campaigns are like that, but this was a very, very good campaign. And open rate is actually, I give you guys a free little trick. Don't track open rate, because once you put the tracking on it, it puts a code in the email. That code gets detected and the email will most likely get to spam. I can elaborate about that later if anyone would want to ask about that. And as you can see, I did not have to send like tens of thousands. We focused on quality here. And we actually got, if you look at the numbers, forget about the percent, which is amazing, but the numbers, we had like a ton of responses, which was great. And I will get to the copy now. Although I can't share the copy here because this is like private information, we could just talk a little bit about it. And then I'll give you some actual more resources, or maybe a little bit of tricks of how to get data and stuff like that. But I just want to talk about the fourth and the last pillar, which is the copy. So a lot of the times, I'm going to stop the sharing. A lot of the times, people think that you need a copywriter to do this job, where after knowing what I know today and after getting the results that I was getting, I actually think the opposite. And I think that if you had a copywriter, let them do your email marketing, your newsletters, come up with the ideas, let them do that. But you need to write copy, not to copyright. That's how I like to say it. Why? Because the second that, keep in mind, we are emailing strangers. They don't know who you are. It's very different when you're emailing your own customers, telling them you have a new product or a sale or whatnot, right? So just think about the experience. And this is very important. Think about the experience when you're looking at your phone and you see this new email. So that's what most people get them, or on your dashboard, on your browser. And think about the difference when you see a name that your brain already recognizes versus a name that you don't. And I'm sure most of you would agree, there's a lot of spam that you are used to, right? You just couldn't be bothered to unsubscribe from it. But, here's this, like, I got this thing emailing me every day, some dude, I don't even remember what it is, but I know his name. So the problem when you're cold emailing is, if you're a complete stranger to them, you need to really, really bear in mind, I think most people open the email. Most people will open. We're curious beings. We will open it. But there's a few things. The first thing is, we're going to read what you start with. That's the thing that everyone is going to read for sure. The second thing is, we might not read it if we see that it's like a 5-paragraph scroll. Nobody wants to read a tons of paragraphs from a stranger. I had days when I was so busy. Honestly, I didn't have time to take a piss. And I was like, you know what? You want me to read all this? Pay me. I'm not reading this. So you need to think about where, if the email is one sentence, for example, I'm going to take it to an extreme place. If it's one sentence, everyone's going to read it. Everyone. It doesn't matter what the sentence says. People are going to read it to its entirety, right? I see the question. I'll show you a couple of tricks. I got some good stuff for you. Don't worry. So also, what you want to do is, you do not want to piss people off. And also, it's illegal. It's illegal, and you don't want to piss them off if you tell people and give them information that they didn't ask for. What you are supposed to do when you are cold reaching, and this is where I'm getting at here, is you're supposed to sound friendly and human and vulnerable. It's absolutely fine to be vulnerable, and check for interest. People respect that and they appreciate it. I mean, there's much more to it, but I'm really trying to give you everything here in a nutshell. Of course, there's going to be it depends on the use case. It depends on what we're doing. So for example, if I would have a list of, let's say, comedians, okay, on Instagram, right, that I just scraped from Instagram, I got a ton of, it's a great list, valid emails, and I'm ready to go. I got a good infrastructure. I know I've already proven that I'm going into the inbox, which if we have time, I'll show you how to do that too. And then I don't know what I'm going to say to them. So my approach is don't try and sell immediately. It's like hitting on people, right? You don't go and stop someone on the street and say, hey, let's go on a date. You say, hey, I see you here already 3 times. You also go to that place. You want to go for a cup of coffee? So you just offer them a coffee, and metaphorically, of course, right? So, for example, what you would want to say to people like this is, hi, I was just on your Instagram, at London Comedian, whatever they're called, and then say, I wanted to ask if you have anyone doing your Instagram right now. As you might know, clubs love booking people with a ton of followers. Can I tell you a little bit more about what I do? Because I really think I can help. It's very, very rare that you would get angry or negative messages. Don't get me wrong. You might get a no, but it's not going to be in a negative way. So people might say, no, thanks. Not for me, not right now. Loads of different responses that I got over the years. Very, very rarely I'll get those angry, F you, don't ever message me, stop. And then this is when people flag you as a spammer. And this is very, very important. And I know, because I've had this resistance from so many clients that I work with, that it's hard not to be corporate and as professional as you can be, and everybody wants to put it in ChatGPT and get the most professional approach. But actually, this is not what you need to do. I'll give you an example. To the other side, sometimes you can even put a spelling mistake, a typo, maybe nothing that to show that you can't spell, but maybe to show that you were in a hurry. Something very human that could have happened, minus instead of comma. I don't know, something like that. So this is everything in a nutshell. Now I'll take some questions so I can see the frying pan. What's the best way to scrape small business emails, do you think? Well, if it's small businesses especially, that will be social media. Mainly because small businesses might not even get around to create a huge website. But Instagram, everybody, even when they're just in the living room talking about the idea of making a business, they already open an Instagram account. And they will be excited to put their contact details there. So, for example, small businesses, Instagram. Unless in rare cases, there are businesses that will not be on Instagram because they are, but most businesses that I know this day and age are visual, like a painter. And I don't know, they're going to present their work. I'm sure accountancies are not going to be on Instagram. What are they going to post, So you're going to have to be more creative. But for example, small accountancies, you can do Google scraping in small towns, for example. So I wouldn't scrape central London because then you'll have like corporate tax firms, huge companies. But if you're after small businesses, like I said in the beginning, it's all about the idea. You need a good idea. So I hope that answers your question, and you're free to reiterate what cold emails of. Okay, let's see.
I want to add one more thing for the guy, just about what you said. It's very good. Like, I think not many people, and you taught me that, about like how to scrape from Google, data from Instagram, because Google indexed all of the information. And I think that many of us, we're doing this mistake. I did it when we doing any kind of like campaigns to get more clients. So we need to be, as I said, we need to have a good idea, and we need to be very specific with the audience that we are targeting. So small business, it's really like it's big audience, like it's very broad. So maybe to think about a specific audience that we want to help them. For example, plastic surgeries in London, but which are small. They are not like so big. They don't have a lot of like clients yet, or like they have, but they are not the top. So they need you. You know what I mean? And then like you can share also later on the Google scraping and how you do it and give me data. And that's super good, right? That because I think sometimes if you have like such a big audience, like very broadly, so it's very how you even send the emails, like the emails are it's not specifically for them, for their problem, right?
True. What you want is people in the middle that already started gaining momentum, so it's important to them.
I agree.
But generally speaking, it's true. I mean, I'm sure we all had like that one big client, which is great, but generally speaking, it's not going to be like that. When to Mark, when to stop a campaign? What reply rate is too low to continue? With 1% reply rates on a 3 email sequence at 7,000 a day, I can already tell you, stop it. Should I pause cold emails to improve deliverability? Warm up always enabled. Right. So I didn't talk about warm up here just because I didn't know if I'll have time to unpack all of this stuff. So there are a lot of different theories with warm up. And I call them theories because I have not yet seen something that is proven, even myself, with my experience and so on. So think about it for a second, and then I'll answer about when to stop a campaign. Just to think, something to think about. I don't know if I have time to go to all of it, but what are you warming up exactly when you do a warm up? Are you warming every mailbox? I can already tell you, in the eyes of the mail servers, there ain't no difference between mailbox A, B, C, or D if they're from the same domain and if they're from the same server. Right, 250 email accounts. Are they from the same domain, different domains? To send, yeah. So if you're sending, I'll put it this way now. We'll talk about that. If you're sending 7,000 emails a daily, and you're not a forget millionaire, you're not a billionaire, then something is wrong. Because I never had to send that kind of amount. I'm not a billionaire, but I never had to send that amount. Never, ever. I just showed you guys. I don't know if you logged in before. I showed you a screenshot. Yeah, 3 mailboxes, you mean, per domain, right? So these things don't matter. The reason people split it traditionally, where it came from, that split, is because the providers that you might be using, I'm guessing Google Workspace or Office 365 or something, they limit you. You can't send more than, I don't know, a few hundred messages a day, right? But just so you know, the email servers, they don't aggregate the data in their reporting or their thresholds in that way. Forget about it. I can tell you, there is no report for every specific mailbox. It would be insane to do. The email servers would crash. They won't have enough. So, this is why DMARC, if you know what that is, DMARC supervises your domain. It doesn't supervise a specific mailbox, right? So you got to think about that. I can already tell you, you sound like the perfect guy that used to be my consulting clients. So, I would get in there and I would solve all these problems. So I can tell you that what you just said, if you're already sending that much and you're getting 1%, stop it. But to be a little bit more clear, I would say this: start with one mailbox, with one domain or whatever, right? Send, I don't know, send 40 emails a day. It doesn't matter, right? Do that for a few days and see if you're getting a good response rate. Because percent is percent. It's true that percent might change and lower if you go scale, if you don't know how to do it, or if, no, not a nice way to say it, if you're not doing it the right way, right? Because there is a way to scale. I've done this in the past and maintain the percentage, but the percentage is a percentage, right? So before you go, and I know how much pain it is to set up an infrastructure with 250 mailboxes, 3 for domain. You got a ton of domains. It's crazy. It's a huge investment of time and money. And I would say, get your 5%, 8% response rate, first of all. And this goes the same way for data. Don't go and get 10,000 emails. Get 1,000 emails and prove that it works. Otherwise, there's no point scaling, nothing. I hope that helps. And in the end, I think I'm going to leave some contact or something like that, or a website or whatever. So we get to that. Are there any more questions that anyone else wants? Toby.
Toby, sure. Is a good guy.
Sure. Lane, my nephew is called Lane. How do you personalize each email when sending it mass, actually? Okay, we'll talk about that. And that relates to Mark's question as well, maybe to the warm-up. I actually believe, and that's why I call it theories, because that's how I was doing it, that yes, you need to warm up a domain, but it's not really to warm it up. What you need to warm up is the copy. Let me give you guys an example that I hope is new information for you, or just a new angle to think about things. Think about a company like MasterCard or Visa, or companies that send millions of emails. And just because we call it transactional and we don't call it cold reach, doesn't matter. In email servers, there ain't no categorization. In the actual SFTP servers, there ain't. So they send millions of emails a day. I bet you if you take a domain that is not performing well for you right now, and you test it by sending an email that looks exactly like thank you for your payment from MasterCard, for example, and copy it like exactly like that, it will go through because it's a known copy. That copy is something that's known, especially in this day and age when they're using AI. They're not using AI on every email, forget about it, but they're creating categorizations for sure. I mean, that's how I would do it, right? And this is something very, very important to think about, right? So I actually, and this is going to sound crazy, I never done the dynamic fields like hello, first name. I don't know, you guys can guess like by how I look. I don't really do things conventionally. It got me into a lot of troubles in my life, but a lot of times it also got me like really, really good things. And, I would say it got me more to good places than bad, right? And that's what it's all about. So what I would say is to personalize, first of all, you can you can use a software that does it. There's a lot of softwares if you still want to personalize. Also, you can build these days, you can hire a freelancer or use ChatGPT if you know how to code and build a little AI app that can personalize them 100% each email when sending it mass, actually. Yeah. So, that's how you can do it. You can either do it on the data set already. So you'll have like next to your data set an additional column with the actual data. And then you just map that in your software and just, when they give you the curly brackets, just write data. And you don't have to write any copy there, just that, and it will go in. Or you can do the whole hello, first name. I'll just say one more thing about that. If you do that, make sure your data is good, because a lot of the times I get like messages like, hi, Nero Knox in Capital. How are things in Blade Marketing? So make sure everything is well formatted if you're going to do that. But I would recommend something very general and swift and quick. Maybe I would personalize their username if I scrape them from Instagram, like, hi, I was on your profile at London Comedian or something like that. I saw another question here. I don't know if I was...
Is asking about which cold email software do you prefer, Instantly, for instance?
So I've never used Instantly. I used my to-go tool for years was reply.io, even though their UI might not look the most modern one, they do it right. And in terms of the preferences and configuration, they always gave me everything that I need. I'm not saying that they're the only ones. And I can tell you that I had to work with campaigns where clients insisted to work with their platform, and I had to kind of make it work. The only time I couldn't was HubSpot, because it's just rubbish. So it's not, HubSpot is not generally rubbish. It's rubbish for cold reach. I wouldn't use it for cold reach, right? Same goes with MailChimp and all those mailers. So I would use reply.io, or this one that my client used that I showed earlier. It's called Smart Leads. It's pretty good. It does the trick. I never used any of them for warm up. For warm up, I always used either Warmy or Mail Toaster. And again, you want to configure that tool the right way. You don't just go and do whatever they tell you. There are ways to do it, I think, that will give you better results, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Neo. Not this one, sorry. This is another question. Is there any AI agent you use that call emails for you all day and night?
No. I'll tell you why. I can probably build it, and they can probably testify. I can probably build it myself, but I want to justify it first. So as much as it's amazing, like I said to Mark earlier, before you go and do the whole Ferrari thing and put the AI, prove that it works. Answer manually to 50 emails and sell out of them. After that, I would say the next step is get someone that is from a country that is cheap to hire but have very good English. Latvia, Estonia, I don't know, you find your person and then put them on that inbox, pay them whatever they want per hour. If they sell, you know that they will sell because you were selling, right? If you put someone and you never sold yourself and they're not selling, you don't know if they're not selling because of the product, because they're bad. Sell yourself first. Prove to yourself this is working. Then you put someone and you can teach them because you know how to, because you've been doing it. I know it might not be what everybody wants to hear, but if you want to be successful, this is what you're going to have to do. You can't run a factory if you haven't worked every part of that factory yourself. That's what I believe.
Mark replied to you. He said, I'm worrying that many domains
are already in bad standing, causing some emails. Oh, the good news is, let me just read it all. I use plain text only and have high quality scraping. I validate emails, etc. Thank you for your advice. Sure, my pleasure. I scrape from Instagram and mostly use custom variable. Their IG usernames, he said, don't have their first name. Great. Already sounds good. So I can, what was the first question then? Worried that many. Yes. So the good news is, even domains in bad standing, I've worked on domains with bad standing. I think the longest it took me to fix it was like 12 days, under 2 weeks. You can fix it. You can fix it using Mailtoaster. Actually, specifically, I use them. Probably Wormy as well, but I haven't used Wormy as much as so my go-to tools were Reply.io and Mailtoaster. They're fantastic. But you know, if you have that many domains, I would recommend to work with DMARC. So instead of P equals none, actually use a DMARC service, because when you do that, I guarantee there are going to be things that you forgot, things that are using the domain or happening there, or someone is trying to hijack your DKIM, or I don't know. And you need to get a hold over everything here. You know, you gotta make sure that you know what's happening, and then make sure that only you send and only in the amounts that you want to send. And believe you me, before you know it, you can rescue it out of the blacklists. It's definitely possible. So, but I like I said, I would first stop everything on them. Just give them a rest as well. That could also help. And then focus on one or two. And like I said, build the success from there, and then just scale gently. And you know, as long as you're successful, you're successful. You just scale it. Even if you scale it slow, you keep being successful slowly, more and more and more and more and more, and you will get there. I'm not saying it's easy. You know, I've done it tons of times, and every time it was hard. There's always challenges, but you need the right people with you, or the right information and knowledge, and then you can, you know, definitely get it going. Yes, I get you. I offer them a free trial and use templates to reply with the sign up link. Yeah, exactly. Like I had my copy paste, and you know, now you can automate with AI. But yeah, absolutely, this is very similar to how I was doing it. Because anyone would say, yeah, sure, I'd love to. Then I would have this thing. Great, thanks. So here's how it goes. Ta 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 ta. And then also in the end, I would be like, would you like a link? So I would even stretch it to 3, because there's no hurry, right? If your funnel is big and it keeps going, so you wait 10 days for your first sale, but then they just keep coming, you know? The frying pan, I love that username. It's amazing. Any AI agents that you use that can scrape more info and variables, actually? By the way, the Mailtoaster advice is gold. Good. So it depends on what you want, because, you know, we always have the information that's available. That's what's available. We can't make it up. However, things that Instagram might not have to show, but you can gather from logic, which is stuff that AI can do. For example, if you're doing a campaign for females only, right? So back in the day, I would create a, so let me show you something, actually. I would create, like, I'm old school. So before AI, I would scrape Wikipedia, right? So I would create the list of keywords of what I'm going to scrape from Instagram. So back in the day, I would go to Wikipedia and say, right, I'm after Indian women. So I would go to Wikipedia and ask like for a list of common female Indian culture names, for example. Now we got AI. So this is my keyword mixer that I've used for years. So now I got AI here. So I can just say like a female Western names, right? So I'll just do that. And then I can add more and more and more and more and more and more, right? And this thing will just know already what I have and just keep giving me new and new and new and a new one, right? And then I can say, right, that are into makeup. So I don't know, like makeup artists, right? So I would kind of build very quickly, and then all these combinations. So look, I already have 300 searches. Each one of these searches can give me. This is one of my tools, by the way, that you can sign up for. I actually use this, and then I create. I can take this, I copy it, I create a search. Blah blah blah. Put all the keywords here, and then the way it looks is that I got a. Let me see. Yeah, like let's see, dentists, affluent cities, for example, for a campaign I've done. So I'm getting a CSV, and I get the usernames here. My tool already extracts the username from the this is like search engine search, actually, for Instagram accounts, right? And then I'll take this and I can then go to my tool and do an extraction. But actually, I use a tool called Give Me Data. You just go and you put all that stuff here, and then you get a list of the emails, phone numbers, addresses, everything, right? This is the tool, yeah. And then this is super easy. You just gotta have the right idea, right? So I use like my own tools. Like I said, my kind of trick, if you may, is to actually look for accounts by their bio. And since Instagram doesn't let you do it, I figured search engines have been doing it for years. They're scraping social media, so I'm just gonna use the search engines in a clever way that I know how to do. And you're all welcome to try that tool. It's called nerostools.com.
Yeah, you have some very cool tools to get this stuff. What I like about you, Nero, it's like the way you think, because there are like so many articles, blogs, guides about like cold email outreach. But I think your approach, and I'm sure like the guys over here can see that you're very experienced and you think outside the box. It is like, I think, what makes you, like to get the best results and the reply rate you showed us. I don't think people really get it, like 30%, 40%. This is crazy numbers. Not sure people saw it from the start. So this is really, really, really crazy.
Yeah, it was also a good idea to start with that business. That's why I think it worked so well. But and that's also something that you can only do what you can do. Like I worked once with someone who was selling a card processing service. That's a tough thing to sell, and the campaign didn't work well. Not everything is on me, but I did the best I could. I thought out of the box. We tried so many different things. I even, said, nah, we can stop. And they said, no, we'll pay you more. Like, if anyone can figure it out, it's you. And we tried more, but it didn't work. It didn't work because you're competing PayPal and Stripe. Why should anyone reconfigure their website just to save a couple of pennies because we're a little bit cheaper? So, it depends. It depends on the proposition. But yeah, social media and stuff like that, that's very, very desirable stuff. So there shouldn't be any reason why you guys shouldn't be selling like crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Like once you build it and you set it up, so you can just like get unlimited leads, and then you don't need to be, controlled by Meta or Twitter, like or any social media platforms. You have your own funnel of the emails, and that's it. So this is crazy. Maybe you can share us more about. And now we almost finished the session, and I also wrote in the post that you have like an also online course that you build with all of your insights, all of the guides for people who wants more and wants to get it, what's the easy way, I call that, the short way. So instead of hustling and try to figure out things by yourself, which it's hard because you're doing it for how many, I don't know, million years. You send maybe billions of emails, so maybe you can share about it more.
900,000 years, yeah, almost a million. Yeah. Let me share it. Sure. Present again, entire screen. Yeah. So I don't do this as an agency anymore. I do consulting here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I decided when I kind of retired from doing this, because I'm doing other things these days that have to do with the software engineering and development. But I didn't want to just kind of let it go, and I built a program. Took me a long time to build it, and anybody that wants to learn everything and much, much, much more that I was talking about right now, this is my really, really long landing page with testimonials and examples and all those sort of things. And I sell this for a one-off of £3,000. However, in the spirit of this call today, we lowered it to, I don't even remember how much it was. I think $400 or something like that, Adi.
Yeah, maybe that's pounds, dollars. I don't remember, but yeah, something like this.
Yeah, Adi has a special link that I built here that you guys can get it for a very significant discount, like I think 90% off or something like that, because you're all professionals. This also comes with a Facebook group where I'm inside the group. It's a private, private Facebook group only to the people that have purchased the program. So you get to meet other professionals. You can ask questions there, and of course, you have access to me through the group and off the group, because you can see my username there, so you can just write to me if you need to. And I'm always supporting clients. I actually also now give 1,200 free credits for my tool as well, for those who want to use it. Actually, the AI here is kind of unlimited. It doesn't take credits, but searching for usernames, which you can then enrich later. So I also do that. And if anyone has any questions about what it covers, I can answer it now, or you can also talk to my AI agent here that even has my voice. But I'm happy to answer questions. This is an online course. It's all videoed. I'm sharing my screen like this, the whole course, showing all of the practices, taking you through all of the modules, from scraping data from the ideas, deliverability, the whole infrastructure, copywriting, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I also bought it. Really good one. Really, really good. Mark, right over here. You're right. I've been rushing through, clicking and sending links too fast. It's better to slow down and have a real conversations. I reached the email account for a while with instantly warm up only. And he asked you, do you think 30 cold emails per mailbox is a safe limit, or should I go even lower?
No, you can go higher. You can even go 40, 50. I don't know instantly, though. I don't know what they're doing. They might be doing something wrong. And you'll be surprised. A lot of big companies are doing wrong things. I don't care how big someone is. I'm a methodical person, and I like to look at the method and say, this is how I want it, or this is not how I want it. I haven't looked into what they do, so I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is, and it's also what I teach in the course, I don't just teach to choose the program that I recommend. Not at all. What I teach is why I chose that program. And if you want to use other tools, what do you need to make sure that they can do in order for you to be able to set it all up, if that makes sense. I would say, go for 40, 50. So you're persistent with it. But you need to make sure that you're using a system where the other people are also setting up the rules to extract you out of the spam. You need to make sure that they don't send those junk random emails, that you can set the template so you can kosher your copy and only your copy. That's what I would say. There's a few more things, but yeah.
So many. No, Neil, you're a genius. Thank you very much for your time and your insight. I think that, people here can definitely say, I know you for many years, and, people who've been in the community maybe remember the old life we did in the Facebook group. So definitely you have like all of the knowledge and the skills. And I'm happy you're sharing it with the people, and you're really showing like the real tricks and the real how to.
Sure.
And yeah, I share the link over here for the course, guys. It's like less than 400 pounds, 390 something. So definitely, I would recommend to buy that and to purchase, just to get more clients and more leads to your growth agency. Why not? Like, to grow more and to get it more, and you don't need to pay per lead and stuff like that, or pay to the big companies. Um, Toby asking, wondering if scraping data from LinkedIn gives better results to work as B2B. Your opinion?
You mean for B2B audience? Yeah, but I would give you a little bit of free advice. Don't get tempted by the whole title thing and keyword decision maker and all that fashion. It's just a fashion. I've worked with enough clients to know that you can't tell, even in a big company or in a small company, if it's all up to the personality of the CEO, especially when it comes to spending budget on the marketing agencies. Not always the marketing director is going to make the decision.
True.
Okay, so that's something to think about. Another thing I would say, I actually used a lot of LinkedIn scraping to discover companies, but I went and did a normal traditional website scrape on their homepages and got their info at. And one thing that I like to think that I think others are missing is that the info at, as opposed to a big hotshot CEO that's super busy and has a PA that doesn't always look or respond to his emails, the person that's responsible for the info at is usually a junior person in the company. Their job is part of their job to make sure that inbox is always being read and nothing gets away. There's actually legal requirements in some cases that they have to make sure that they respond to emails. So that is really, really cool, because there's nothing wrong with emailing and saying, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of whoever is responsible for this and this and such. And this could actually lead you faster to the decision maker, because they might just go, hey, you need to speak to Josh, or even CC that person. And that's much nicer because it puts you in a nicer position when you've been introduced. Again, all you need to do is be willing to give up that quick sale attitude and say, right, I'm gonna go for the long run, but I'm still gonna multi-thread it and still gonna scale it. It's just gonna take me longer to make a sale. So think about that. And nothing changes if nothing changes. That's how they say,
Thank you, Nero. So yeah, I think any last questions before we finish, or if not, maybe I will invite you next time. And again, people who wants to get deeply and to do it as a master, so check the links we shared and the website that Nero mentioned. A lot of knowledge and really great tips. And that's it. Nero, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.